You need to be able to use a hammer.
If you could, and if, by the way, if you could do all these things, email us. We've got emails on this.
Yeah.
People will ask us, they're like, so what does it take to get into the audio industry or the headphone industry?
How do I get involved?
If I want a job, like, at Abyss or wherever, how do I do that? And usually, I guess you see, it mostly seems to be college students. Sometimes they even include a resume. So here's I'm taking engineering.
Yep.
I'm taking this, and I'd like to get involved in. Now, what they really mean is they want to come and learn all our secrets.
Oh.
Yeah, but beyond that, of course, that doesn't work like that. But beyond that, well, it's a good question. I mean, you could now we have to assume that you're not getting into it as in like you're starting a business, because like there's a lot to talk about there. Okay, because
that'll have to be a different video.
Yeah, you may want to like not do that. And, that's that. You're gonna have to work up to that. So let's talk about just getting a gig first. With
getting involved in the audio industry.
Yeah.
You start with just emailing everybody in the audio industry and asking for a job. Start there.
Yeah, you could.
That's not a bad start.
Maybe someone will.
Yeah.
It's probably effective.
It's like, hire me, please. Here's my resume.
It's far from a sure thing, but if you don't do it, you're pretty much sure not to get a job in the audio industry. And if you do it, there's a small chance you might. So, I don't know. I guess that's the start.
We've gotten emails from guys with MBAs, and it's like, well, why the hell do you want to work here? We don't need an MBA. We really don't. We already got the business side figured out.
Right.
We're selling product. We need people to make the product, not an MBA.
You do need to have relevant skills, and obviously that's going to depend on the size of the company and what it is they do. But generally speaking, a good start for most companies is some sort of engineering degree or experience. Usually that's a pretty good fit in most spaces. Pretty much everybody's always looking for more of that.
Yeah, engineering's a good start. Yeah. Anything technical background would be a great start.
The trouble is there really isn't like a headphone manufacturing degree.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be a whole lot of direct things, but there's a lot of things that have pretty good overlap that give you some useful insight and kind of give you a little kickstart. And really what most companies are going to be looking for isn't necessarily a degree. The degree doesn't really mean that much for the most part. It just means hopefully you were able to get through the program, and maybe you'd be able to be useful in that company as well if you have some technical understanding, experience, or the ability to push through. But most people are just looking for someone that's useful, that can provide value, and it is very difficult to convey that.
Well, the reality is that because we're a manufacturer, we're making things. So you got to be able to make things, put things together, assemble, use your hand-eye coordination, tools.
But some people don't make things. There's a lot of headphone companies that don't make anything.
Well, that's
in fact,
true.
most headphone companies.
And if they come ready in a box out of wherever, some other third world country or whatever.
Well, it doesn't have to be a third world country, but it's very common for other people to have local contractors, vendors, or whatever that manufacture the parts for them.
Well, honestly, most of the headphones are made in China, right? So you're dealing with, that's where it's coming from. And a lot of times I would assume then if they're made in China, they're boxed and packaged and ready to go. And
designed in the U.S., though.
Yeah, sure. Right. Well, you could do that.
Well, designed wherever the country is.
Yeah, right. Or wherever. Company. Yeah, Europe could be anywhere. Yeah. But there it's more or less you're just shuffling boxes. So now you need more like shipping,
logistics.
Logistics.
Well, you still need to design the product. You still need an engineering. You still need to design. You still need to run through prototyping and validation and all the things.
You have to interface with whoever's manufacturing in the other country.
Yeah.
That could be difficult.
You could just be artsy. You could develop a look, develop the packaging, work with them on instructions and
But I would say, though, if you're already a company doing that, you wouldn't probably hire someone to do that, what you're already doing.
That's a harder one to hire for.
The real question is how would... So I guess when you think about it, yeah, you're right. In that sense, a company doing that probably wouldn't be looking for the person we would be looking for because we're making it here.
We're looking for different people.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not buying it from somebody else. We're making it.
The simple thing is you need to figure out what the company's doing, what they need, what you could do that will provide that company value. If you have a company or target in mind, but if you just want to get in the audio industry in general, it's pretty easy. You don't really need anything, but if you want to get hired by a company, you do need to be useful. So hopefully acquire some vaguely usable skills in industry, and then just be active. Forums are a reasonable enough place to start. It's not a surefire thing, but if you have enough exposure, if you're on forums a lot, if you appear to be helpful, it's pretty hard in this industry to find good people. So for the most part, I would imagine companies would notice if they're looking. They would notice somebody that's a standout, that excels, and then just be available. Contact people. Say, hey, I'm looking for a job. Do it over and over again. Send an email out every 6 months. And don't just give them a resume. Tell them why you want to work there. Tell them your life story, whatever you think is compelling, right?
Yeah, just no sob stories. That ain't going to work.
Oh.
No, that doesn't really go anywhere. You know?
Yeah.
It does remind me of a movie, though.
What's that?
Billy Madison, actually. Yeah. See, he started out, the guy that gets the company at the end, started out as a bellhop. Just worked his way up for 30 years. You know, that's the one. You just got to get your foot in the door, and then, you know.
Well, that happens in
It's
a
kinda
lot
like that.
in industry. That happens a lot. I mean, you got people that work their way up into upper management, and then ultimately even president, vice president, CEO. But it's 30 or 40-year path.
That's the thing.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's usually the best people in charge because they've seen every level. They know
Yeah.
how things are built, how things are designed. You
Yeah.
know? So
It depends on how the companies run, how they make the products and whatnot. But if it's a reasonably intelligent company, they're going to be looking for someone that has experience, that has understanding, that has in-depth understanding of the product and how they're made and why to make things a certain way and stuff. So generally speaking, an engineering-focused career would be a good path for that.
Okay. Well, I think we'll just keep it simple. So if people want to know what it takes to even get past the first, what do you call it, review process, working for Abyss, right?
Okay. Somebody submits an application.
Yeah. Right.
well,
Say, hey,
that's the biggest part.
Yeah.
I'm
Submitting
interested.
it.
Yeah.
Well, we have to know you exist.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess we'll talk about it more or less from our perspective.
Yeah,
now.
let's look
Yeah.
at it from
Yeah.
Somebody, maybe tongue in cheek.
Somebody did all these things. Somebody has some requisite experience, or let's just say they just graduated or they're going to graduate with some sort of relevant degree. So they presented that maybe they have some
Well, we don't
appreciable
necessarily get a
skills.
degree. You could be a high school diploma and be fine too. You
Right, as long as you show something, right? If you just have a high school diploma and you have no experience, you have
Well, good
nothing
luck
to
with
show,
that.
it's really hard for someone to say, yep,
Yeah.
that's my person, right?
Yeah.
But if you have your extracurriculars, you have hobbies and whatnot, interests, and you talk in depth about the hows and whys and the interesting things you're doing, that makes it way more likely that the employer is going to be interested in you. When
Well-
you show something that you're capable of doing.
Well, yeah, and our first test would be, can you hold a hammer? Right.
That kind of is.
Yeah, I mean,
oddly
all
enough.
right, let's see how.
That's a good test.
Can you? Let's see you hit something with a hammer.
Yeah, it's a strange test.
If you're
but
like,
it's-
and it flies out your hand, then okay. First of all, you're probably not a golfer, and you're probably never hit a nail before.
it's a bit of a joke around here, but yeah, we did figure out that having someone that actually knows how to use hand tools is actually profound. Since we are manufacturing, it's kind of expected that most people have some intrinsic mechanical understanding.
Yep.
They know
Actually, the
basic
more the
hand
better.
tools.
So you better start cracking a whip if you never put things together, take things apart before, because that's extremely
Right.
important.
Extremely
in
important.
a manufacturing environment. If you don't know how to put something together, then you're in the wrong place.
Yeah, you put all the screws in crooked and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Well,
or strip them all.
stripping them.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's an issue.
Break the screwdriver.
Rounding all the heads off, breaking the
Use a
screwdrivers.
screwdriver for prying things.
Right. Well, everyone does that.
Yeah, well,
but-
yeah. Keith used his knife to pry. Now it's got a cracked tip. The tip's
Yeah.
cracked off.
Yeah. Well, see, he learned now. He bet he won't do it again.
Well, he has another one, and he didn't crack the tip.
There you go. See, so now he's got a bendy knife, and he's got,
Yeah. Well, now he uses it only for pry. It's dull, and it only pries. He turned it into a screwdriver.
There is sort of one underlying trait that most of the employees here have. They seem to be enthusiastic about something, and oftentimes it's cars. At least
automobiles.
cars.
Yeah. If you could fix cars, you're in.
Yeah. It seems to be if you have a passion for pretty much anything, you have a chance to be useful in a
So now everyone's going to put on
company.
a resume, oh yeah, I fixed cars before. So you're going to have to prove it. We're going to need you. We're going
The
to
hammer test.
You're going to need to see you with the wheel off, putting new brake pads on.
Well, that's too easy.
That's too easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, a water pump.
Depends on the vehicle.
Yeah.
Can't be afraid of getting dirty.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Because the reality is sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
It's-
Although around here it's pretty rare, but yeah.
Well, depends on what you're doing.
Well, if you work in the back with the guys with the machines,
Keith gets dirty all the time.
that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get a little chip clog overflow action.
Yeah, right. That's true. But you dry off quick. It's
Right,
warm
it's a little
back there.
dirty.
Well, you
Yeah.
mop.
That's true.
I'd say you need to be a mechanic and be able to use a mop.
Yeah.
Those are two things.
The shop's clean, though, like the assembly area, everything. Of course, that's like,
Yeah, right.
if you're in a well-controlled environment in there, humidity,
Right.
temperature, everything, filtered air. But so it depends. It depends on your skill sets. And,
Well, each company would have different requirements because they obviously don't make everything the same, so.
Right.
well, there is this thing about personality, too. You got to fit in, too.
See, that's very dependent on the environment,
Because
though.
we're not a GM plant. We're a small company. So you got 5-6 people in one
Right.
room. You're going to have to get along together.
That's true.
You can't go and hide somewhere. You can't run. You can't spread out too far.
Unfortunately, yes. Where we are, it's kind of sort of required to get along with everybody because you have to all work together and you have to get along on a high level. You have to really intrinsically understand what needs to get done and work together to get it done. It isn't really an environment where you could just stare at the corner all day and work independently.
Which adds self. You got to be self motivated. Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to. Here's what you need to do. You do it, and then over time, you figure out. You know what you got to do. You
And
just
what
look
everybody
around.
else is doing. So
Right.
you kind of.
You look around and you start to learn
Right.
what you need to do for the day, and you can actually create your own schedule.
Because everybody can't be watching everybody else, making sure they're all doing things because
Yeah.
everybody's got their own stuff to do. So
there has to be a certain level of intelligence.
Yeah.
Where you're like, all right, I see you. Oh, by the way, I need 6 of these for today. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And then, there's not like you got to, keep reminding somebody. You have to have a memory. You have to be organized. You have to have a way to develop the skill set that allows you to do your job independently. Otherwise, if someone's got to be constantly telling you what to do, that means we ain't got time to do what we're doing, right? Or whoever's in charge, doesn't want to have to constantly be supervising. Of course, I'm talking to people who, if they're just coming out of school, they wouldn't know this because they never worked anywhere. This whole thing we're talking about, you think about, these are skill sets you learn by working somewhere.
Yeah, it's
So
a personal development type deal
Experience
thing.
does matter. It can be helpful if you've already had a job.
Well, the person matters, without a doubt. If it's a person that isn't willing or accustomed to working on themselves, improving themselves, bettering themselves, then it's going to be a problem because they may never seek improvement. And unfortunately, the reality is in an environment like this, in a high-end manufacturing environment, you're not going to fit in well if you don't get along well with others. That's just the realities.
Right.
It's not where we're not slamming out 10,000 units a day and nobody cares as long as you're meeting numbers. That isn't the reality. And I think it's going to be the same in most high-end manufacturing environments.
Yeah, this isn't a quantity business. It's a quality business.
It needs to be right.
Which brings out attention to detail, too, which we haven't brought up either. You really need to focus on what you're doing. You need to make sure that everything you do, every step you take, is done the right way. There's no shortcuts here. It doesn't work like that.
Well, it also helps to know why you're doing it that way. That's a big thing. Like I like to not only show someone how to physically do something, show them why they're doing it that way.
Yeah, that's
so then
really
they
important.
they understand why it's done that way.
Or you run into some variables where this doesn't quite fit that way, so they can adjust for it or compensate for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just a fixed robotic thing.
Yeah, that's how you make a whole bunch of bad parts. You're just doing it without really knowing why.
Yeah.
Well, it's not exactly like a GM plant here or something like that.
Picking on GM a little too much.
Yeah. Ford.
Yeah,
Ford
there's
plant.
one locally. Yeah, I guess we should point that out. Yeah. There's a local one, so you get a different kind of person that works at a place like that. Not to say that's a problem. It's just a very different environment from where we are here, right? It's not about getting the job done. The reality is job can get done multiple ways, and everyone here knows everyone else, of course, and we try to work together to get the best parts possible. So if you see something that somebody else did and you think it's less than stellar and they don't know the hows and the whys, you could talk to them and say, hey, when I do this, the thing you did causes this problem for me in this way. And maybe you could kind of work together to figure out how to improve the processes.
And you expect that to be corrected.
Right.
It's called teamwork. It's just teamwork.
And it's necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows that they could talk to anyone else at any point for any reason, say, hey, what you did is not where we need it to be.
Yeah.
Right. And how can we figure out how to
No
improve
need to
it?
be shy around here.
And that's just reality. That happens multiple times every day. So,
It's continuous correction.
right. And we're not talking about big things like this is broken. It's just this could be a tiny bit better. This could be improved. And that continual improvement is key. So all the team members need to be on board. And they need to be understanding and kind of sort of unified in the goal of shipping the best headphones possible.
And the cool thing is the people we have here currently, everyone that works here is exactly like that.
Yeah.
They fit the mold just like that. They want to do better. They want to know if something's wrong. They want to fix it. They want to make sure.
Right.
And it's critical, and it's to what we're doing, to a high-end product, like you said.
Well, I know for like stuff that I don't do, I like to check on other people when they're doing it to see if there's ways that they can improve it. That because they're just doing it the way they're doing it, but then like sometimes like you could do this, and like oh yeah. So
Yeah.
Right. I
change
think
stuff.
For the most part, the employees we have here have been long enough. Everyone gets together pretty well, and everyone knows that they could go to each other and talk through problems because we've all seen so many problems that we caused or other people caused, and they're always trivial stuff. It's never really big stuff. We're not talking about like stuff that's just not working. It's just
Stuff that people wouldn't really notice.
trivial
except
things that
us.
almost nobody would notice that
Yeah.
you see room for improvement.
Right.
And it's obvious when you see enough of these things that everyone else does have your best interest in mind. We're just trying to make the product easier to put together, more consistent, better quality, and all the positive attributes. And at some point, people come to the realization that, yeah, I might not know the best way. So having other minds on it is helpful. Having other people talk through a problem can be helpful sometimes.
Well,
And sometimes people come up with good ideas.
Well, particularly, too, because we deal with other vendors that supply this stuff. I mean, the coatings we use are supplied by other vendors.
Yeah.
We've had variables with paints and coatings change up out of nowhere. The color's different. It's like, what the hell is this? It's the same color we've always used, but it's spraying different,
Right.
So we run into just silly stuff like that where, there's formulation variations. There's all kinds of weird stuff that occurs when you bring stuff in from outside your existing environment, whatever it be, raw materials, everything. And you have to be able to adapt for that. And the longer you do it, the better your people get at it. And the people get it because they've seen it before. They've done it
Right.
before. And they instantly recognize a change and they go, oh, this is different. This is different. I can do this, bake this at a different temperature or whatever. Right? So, that's the beauty of experience where, there's nothing to think about. You don't have to figure out what you've already done, figured out in the past. So, so we certainly do appreciate experience as well. We do appreciate experience
It's very helpful.
in any industry. Yeah, absolutely.
But you can't always expect someone to have 10 years of high-end headphone manufacturing experience.
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't need to be specifically headphones, though. I mean, experience, at least in some sort of technical way, usually helps.
I mean, if you put together watches, that would be great. Like if you were
That
from
would be.
Switzerland, I think that'd be great.
You'd be very good at assembling.
I think for us at least, it's pretty obvious that somebody really needs to be able to get along with everybody else on the team because that's so intrinsic in how we operate. So we need a team player in the classic sense. And you need to be able to take criticism. And a lot of people just really aren't set up for that. You tell them, hey, I think you could do a little bit better on this. And they fall apart. So,
or they get pissed off.
yeah, right.
That's the wrong
Same
reaction.
difference, right? It's
It's
need
not
to
about getting
understand.
mad. It's about correcting the problem.
Everyone's trying to help everyone,
Yeah,
right?
right. Yeah.
And you, at some point,
And we're not
most people
yelling at you
figure
about it. We're just telling you, hey,
right?
we got to fix this. So, yeah.
Because you're trying to ship, of course, world-class gear. So any trivial little defect is an issue.
Yeah.
And of course, you
Attitude.
always,
It's all about attitude.
right, you try to improve everything you can. And sometimes somebody else that isn't doing what you're doing sees an obvious way to save you time and effort.
Bottom line, you need to have a good attitude.
Yeah. It's key
Positive
in small
attitude.
companies for sure.
Huge.
Mm-hmm.
Huge.
If you have 100,000 employees, maybe it doesn't really matter that much. Maybe you would like to have this, but it's impractical.
Well, and you certainly can't walk into a building with a small company and be the cloud. You
Yeah,
can't
nobody
be
wants
You
that.
can't be raining on everyone's parade all day long.
Yeah, if you're always grumpy and stuff like that, nobody wants to deal with you.
It doesn't work. So the attitude is huge in a small company. Hell, it's huge in any company.
Right.
You know?
But in a small company, it's pretty much required.
Yeah, you need to have a positive attitude. You just need to get along and understand what everyone needs.
Yep.
And you need to know what this is too.
Oh,
Yeah.
And you better know how to use it too.
Hmm.
Because if you don't know what this is, you don't know how to use it, then you might be looking at barking up the wrong tree trying to get an audio company. Yeah.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
But that's really only like a small audio company thing. If you were at a big company, it wouldn't really matter.
Probably not.
You'd be such a specialized task.
It'd be good if
that-
you knew what a speaker was.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people
It'd
figure
be even
that
better
one
if you knew how it worked. like a
I
dynamic
guess, yeah.
driver,
Yeah, you make your own.
a coil wire and a magnetic field. Wow, if you knew all that.
But that is the kind of thing that people would want to see, like us as a company. If you saw someone that had submitted a resume, they had a little cover sheet or something like that.
You play
And
guitar?
They say, they talk about their instruments, their experience or whatever.
Yeah.
They talk about how I made my own speakers and stuff like that, the challenges, the problems, whatever. If it made it look like you were passionate about this thing, you actually cared, that's very desirable because it pretty much means that you put thought into what you do. And that's the priority. People want someone, at least in a small company, that cares, that
I think in
wants
every
to
company.
improve.
What about Elon? He said it too, right? Elon came up with the same thing. He says, you don't necessarily have to have a PhD to work for me.
Right.
He's looking for intuition. He's looking for imagination.
Right.
He's looking for people who think outside the box is what he's looking for.
Well, although I agree 100%, it is very challenging because for most people, it's extremely difficult for them to get across on paper without having met the person that they're a person you want to hire.
Well, it's the same with
So
the
the
interview.
degree-
The interviewer's got the same problem. You'll look at
Yeah.
a resume and it's a page or two.
Right.
And there ain't
yeah,
no way.
I got to know something about you.
Yeah, so you really got to put some sparkly words on that paper.
It's tough. It's
You know?
critical. I think
Yeah.
people don't quite understand how important it is. They look at the information on
Well,
there.
the people that do get good at it, and,
Right, yeah.
and you may weed out a good person, but that's the way it works. If you can't convey it on paper, you're not going to get noticed. So that's kind of important.
But it also depends on who's hiring you. At a smaller company, you are much more likely to not have like a hiring manager. You're more likely to have someone that knows what they're doing, that deals with the products and stuff like that hiring.
Well, the other thing that would help too is Resume 101. You better look it up and figure out how to write a resume because we've seen some that are
Yeah, not
Awful.
exactly.
yeah, they
big
did
ranges.
not follow a format
Yeah,
which
right.
has existed for many decades. You can't just nilly-willy write shit on a page and call it a resume. You have to follow the format. You can create your own unique format, which is kind of cool, but it better be consistent through the whole resume.
Well,
You know?
you could really do whatever you want. It just needs to show passion, drive, understanding. And if you just have like a basic resume with two things on it, well, it doesn't look like you're somebody that's interested.
And maybe on a second page, put a picture of photo you holding a hammer. Yeah.
That would
Getting
really work.
ready to
yeah.
strike something.
Here's my hammer.
Yeah. We'll know if you know how to hit something with it. We'll know by the way you're holding it. We'll know.
Actually, you kind of can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
Well, and what type of hammer it is too.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. All kinds. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be- It's got. I'd go for a good hickory-handled freaking old school.
Oh,
one.
hickory, huh?
But you know the head's gonna fall off. It's sooner or later.
Yeah,
They'll
they-
loosen up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now the fiberglass is probably snap, right? So I don't know how tough are they. I don't know. Are they tough? I've never had a
They're
long.
pretty good. Yeah.
The
They
wood
could be-
ones are worse.
Rough on your hands, those fiberglass.
Depends on what you're doing with them.
Yeah.
Oh, you wear gloves.
They splinter.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, it
Well,
helps
if
to
you're
know
beating
all.
them
If
up.
you know all that too, that's great because now we know that you used hammers before, and then you've used them. Really used them.
I think people are going to be confused by this hammer thing.
Okay, well, enough said then. I think we've given people enough clues how to work for a audio company.
Well,
Have we, though?
Now have at it.
more of like a small audio company is what we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Well,
Yeah.
all audio companies
Yeah.
are small.
Well,
They really
I mean,
are.
not Apple. You know. They're
Okay.
like-
Well. Okay. But you know what I mean.
The summary, more or less, is a degree doesn't necessarily matter, but it is very helpful because what you're trying to do in a resume is communicate that I'm a person that will provide your company value. I could do something you need me to do. So a resume that actually has like coherent things in there that shows passion, drive, understanding, ability to work together as a team, that's very helpful, more so than a degree. But a degree is another way to indicate that. So, you
Yeah.
can kind of do the best of both worlds and have mechanical understanding in addition to a degree. And then
Well,
as long
in-
as you show a little passion,
In
you're
the
in.
end, though, now that we told everyone what to write in a resume, you're going to have to prove it when you get there. So don't just write this stuff like a bunch of bullshit on a resume
Well,
and,
yeah.
think it's going to work out because you'll be picked out like a sore thumb
It's so
real
easy. Yeah,
rapidly. So don't
We-
waste everybody's time. In other words, you better live up to the hype if you're going to write it all down. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You
That
got to be who you
very
are.
much is a reality. We had a few people that came in here. They had a resume that looked pretty impressive. They had all this experience and stuff like that. And inevitably, they don't really know what they're doing.
They couldn't hold a hammer.
Right.
They didn't know how to hold a hammer.
So
that's where the test came from.
it ends right there, right?
And things have been added ever since.
And then when we threw them at a chop saw, oh my God.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's enough clues as to how to get a job around here.
Well, we could let them in on the secret.
Yeah.
If anyone out there happens to feel like they're a passionate considerate individual that is motivated to make good products and provide value to a company like ours, well,
Yeah.
we're
And
hiring.
you happen to live in Buffalo, New York, or nearby?
Yeah, that's the problem. We kind of got to be local.
Yeah. Well, if you want to move.
Yeah, but
We have
that is
we
a
have
pretty
good
small
skiing
subset.
here in the winter, and
Well,
good
skiing,
nice
well,
summers.
mediocre
Doesn't
skiing.
get too hot. Gets
We
a
have
little cold.
mediocre skiing. Sometimes it gets cold.
Yeah.
Doesn't get that hot, but warm.
Yeah.
A lot of positives.
Yeah. I don't know. It's
I don't know,
nice
talk
here.
to Douglas.
Yeah. It's
He knows
cheap.
all about it.
Cheap living. Well, relatively.
Yeah.
I hear Buffalo is one of the most affordable cities in the country, and that
Yeah,
ain't
everything's a
saying
lot
much,
worse now.
But
no.
yeah,
It used to be better.
Yeah, it used to be even cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now the housing's gone up a bit, but hey, it is what it is. Got to catch up with the rest of the
It's
country.
not as bad as a lot of places.
Yeah. Yeah. Wouldn't want to be in California.
Yeah. So brush up your resume.
Yeah. Thanks
Send it
everyone
in.
for watching. Hope that helps some people going forward in the future. Thumbs us up. And what else? Oh, I wanted to say something else. There's something about the. Oh, we keep forgetting. If anyone's got any ideas on future videos,
Yeah.
our email, totl@abyssheadphones.com. TOTL for top of the line. TOTL@abyssheadphones.com. So yeah, we always need ideas. We want to know what you guys want to hear about, and obviously we're good at blabbing on about just about anything. So throw it at us. Thanks everybody.